Sheriff Nieto. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, there we go.
Sorry, I missed all the earlier meetings. We're still dealing with storm stuff, so.
No, that's it. We appreciate all the work that you've been doing. Thank you very much. And with Dave Jednick retiring, Sheriff, we will have you run as chair for this meeting. And I'll let you take the floor.
Great. I guess I'm chairing this meeting, everybody. Hi, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. It's a meeting of the Monterey County EMS Operations Subcommittee. You should have all got your agenda attached to your invitation. We are doing it remotely through Zoom and at the Cinnamon Room at the county government office. With that, let's go around and let's introduce the room first, and then I'll go around the Zoom squares.
Jesse Allard with the EMS Agency.
Deborah Hopgood, EMS Agency.
Blake Anderson with the EMS Agency.
Steve Brooks, EMS Agency.
Sandra Flores, AMR Communications Manager.
Kimberly Hernandez, EMS Agency.
All right, Dr. Burrow,
John Burley, EMS Agency.
Mr. Essinger,
Mike Hesslinger with American Medical Response, sorry.
Kimberly Hernandez.
I'm here. I'm also on Zoom, but I'm also in the room. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Chief Reyes,
Justin Reyes, Monterey County Regional Fire District.
Teresa Rios,
Teresa Rios, EMS Agency.
Chief Ryan, I think, Alexander,
Ryan Alexander, Salinas Fire Department, EMS.
Ben, you're on.
Ben Hitchcock, MRCS manager.
Steve Brooks,
EMS Agency, here in the room.
Jesse Allard,
Same here, EMS.
Blake,
Yep, and here as well.
Sandra.
I'm Sandra. I'm in the room as well.
Okay, Will,
There's here, AMR Operations Manager. Thank you.
Jeff,
Good afternoon, Jeff Horner with CalStar.
and Cassie.
Cassie Natividad.
All right, did I miss anybody or?
I believe you got everybody.
Okay, with that, can we take do we have a, do we have enough people here for the meeting? I forgot to ask.
No, that's all right. Yes, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we will go to public comment.
Okay. Any member of the public can address the committee for a period to not to exceed 3 minutes on any issue that's not on the committee's agenda. The committee will listen to all communications, but may not take any actions. Does anyone have any public comment at this time?
Mike Forcheck.
And at this time, it does not sound like it. So,
Mike Six check.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the approval of past ops minutes meetings. It looks like we have November 9th, December 7th, and January 4th. So if I can get a motion to approve all 3 meetings, and I believe they're attached to the things, and I'm going to turn off my other meeting while somebody does that.
That's Will Hiller, a motion to approve the minutes for agenda items.
Can I get a second, please?
Jeff Horner, I'll second.
Check.
With that, can I get a roll call, please?
absolutely. All right. So Jeff Horner,
Aye.
Tina Nieto,
Aye.
Cassandra Caldera,
Aye.
Will Hiller,
Aye.
and Ryan Alexander.
Aye.
All right. And the motion carries.
All right, with that, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to correspondence, and I see that we have none. With that, we'll move on to reports. Teresa?
Thank you. I think by now most everybody has heard my report from the last two meetings, and I mentioned earlier that I started to do a report on data and how much, list of projects and all of that. And when I sat back, it was just like, I just wanted to take time to recognize the work that we've done together. When I looked at the projects that we tackled together, the common threads for me were collaboration and really moving the system forward. So for that, I'm very grateful to everybody who has contributed. I want to especially recognize the work that the communities do, because our members are very dedicated. They're already part of the system, and they give us even more by being part of the community. I also said that, 2023 already started with a bang with the storms. And so there's a lot of work that we need to do. And I look forward to continue to work with everybody. I want to thank the team who have done everybody has done an amazing job. Even our new additions to the team with Jesse and Blake have done a great job with the response to the storms. I'm very grateful. I had to be away from the office, and had it not been for how well they have conducted themselves during this time, it's like, it would not have been possible for me to be able to handle the personal matter that I'm having to handle. So thank you so much to everybody. And again, I think 2023 is going to be a very exciting year.
Thank you, Teresa. Are there any questions from the committee for Teresa? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to old business triage tag days. Steve?
Yes, most of everybody here heard the report at Max. I'll summarize just real quick. We had the triage tag days, our initial redo of triage tag days in November 14th, 15th, and 17th. And quite honestly, it didn't go as well as we had hoped. We had put out good training material that included a review of START triage, a video that went over the triage tag, and we also had instructions on how we wanted the day to go, which was basically put a triage tag on everybody except for some very selected patients who a triage tag would just not be appropriate for. We found that of the 3 days, AMR reported that they had about 300 or so transports, and the triage tags, outside of a few that were at SVMH, we recovered from them about 70 some, of which I think 50 or so had names that we could follow up on. So even though we put out training material, even though we communicated through Facebook and our website and push notices through the app, it just didn't seem to reach the field. So we're going to be regrouping and coming back again at it here in a couple months to do another triage tag day and see if we can't get really good compliance with triage tags on the appropriate patients, and also identification enough that we can track them through to final destination. It was rather disappointing. Reviewing PCRs, did a spot check and couldn't find any triage tag numbers located in the space that we intended them to be. We did find some in the narrative. So we'll work on that. We'll provide some guidance, and hopefully we'll have better results in the next triage tag days here in a couple months. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Steve. Does anybody have any questions for Steve? Seeing none, we'll move on to Ops Subcommittee. Kimberly?
So the Ops Subcommittee bylaws and policy 1020 cleanup is a work in progress to remove the bylaw language from policy 1020 and keep the bylaw details solely in the bylaws. This will continue to be worked on while the EMS ordinance and policy 1020 are going through revision. So we're just keeping it here to update the subcommittee as the changes or revisions are made. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Kimberly, I don't see anything, so we'll move on to the new chair nomination. Blake?
All right, so as mentioned earlier, with Dave Jetnick retiring from Carmel Fire, we are looking to place or fill the chair nomination or the chair position. And we are looking for current nominations and for a vote for the chair nomination. So is there anyone willing to put out a nomination or willing to nominate themselves? And I will note at the last meeting, we did bring this up. And I believe Will had made mention that he was going to check in. And I don't know if you can update us, Will, or not.
Yeah, I certainly can update you. I'm happy to accept the nomination if that's still the request of the person who nominated me. I just wanted to run it past Mike. And had a couple questions about that, but I'm happy to take on that role.
Okay.
Okay, sounds like we have a nomination for Will. Do we need a second on that whole nomination?
Yes, we will need a second for Will.
This is Jeff Horner. I believe I was the one that made the nomination, but if not, I'm more than happy to second Will.
And this is Sheriff Nieto. So when you look at the notes, I'll take one or two if Jeff's already on there. So.
Okay. So I will have Will down as primary, and then second would be Jeff.
Will's the nominee.
Owen nominee, so
Jeff.
Jeff will be primary
And for Tina Nieto.
and Tina will be secondary. Okay, I will put that in.
Do a roll call.
All right, so at this time, we'll do a roll call. So for approval of Will Hiller as chair, Jeff, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Aye. Tina Nieto,
Aye.
Cassandra Caldera,
Aye.
Will Hiller,
I'll abstain.
okay, and Ryan Alexander.
Aye.
All right. Well, Will, you are approved as the new chair for our ops committees. Thank you.
Congratulations, Will. Would you like to make a speech?
I'm not good with speeches, but thank you. I appreciate it. And I look forward to working with you all.
Listen,
I really do.
I'll have to take a look at so Will, I will touch base with you after this meeting, just so since I think part of it is you will take on what was left of Dave's position, and then the fall, when his reelection was, or his term expires. So I will touch base with you on what the term limits are for you being chair.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving now to new business, medical alarms call review. Kim?
So this is a report on a review of 1 year of data since the ambulance response to medical alarm company calls went into effect in November of 2021. The EMS agency implemented a change that an ambulance would not be automatically sent to any unconfirmed medical alarms. Every
374 Vaughn Avenue. The neighbor is saying the
Every month since that system change, the EMS agency staff and AMR have met to review the medical alarm call data. AMR has audited every single medical alarm call for over 1 year, and my presentation is a summary of that data that AMR collected and audited. We wanted to monitor when we make a system change to to ensure that it is beneficial to the system and that the change we did make was anticipated as it would be. So let me just share my screen for a moment. Can you see my screen? Okay. So medical alarm call review. So there were 882 medical alarm calls in from 11/1/2021 through 11/30/2022. On the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see that 59% of the medical alarm calls, so the majority were unconfirmed medical alarms, and 41%, accounting for 358, were confirmed. On the right-hand side of the screen, it just does a breakdown of the transport or the disposition of the calls. And as you can see, the unconfirmed medical calls, medical alarm calls, the vast majority were no transport, which was 503 calls. And there was a total of 20 that were transported code 2 and 1 that transported code 3. I'm going to move on to my next slide. It's just going to give percentages. So again, the medical alarm confirmed calls, 56 were no transports, 42 were transported code 2, and 3% transported code 3. Those are confirmed, so that means an ambulance will be started automatically. But the medical alarm calls that are unconfirmed in ambulance is not started automatically. And it does support what we anticipated would happen, is that 96% of those calls result in no transport. 4% results in transport code 2, and less than 1% are transported code 3. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Kim. And you've got the next, wait, yeah, air ambulance ETAs. So you have that too.
So at our last ops committee, during good of the order, it was brought to the subcommittee's attention that there were some informal discussions between county communications staff and CalSTAR about air ambulance ETAs. We reached out to county communications leadership to see if there were any items that they felt needed to be brought to the subcommittee, but unfortunately we have not received an update. So we will continue to reach out to county comm leadership to see if there are any things that need to be brought to the subcommittee. That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Kim? Seeing none, we'll now move on to correspondence regarding the Alpha and Omega calls from Salinas Fire Department. I guess that's just attached then. So, is that correct?
Yeah, and if you look in your agenda packets, there should be a document attached with Salinas Fire's updated memo on the changes to responding to priority calls, Alpha and Omegas. And pardon me if I can pull that up here momentarily.
If I may.
Go ahead, Teresa. Yes.
So Chief Klinick from the Salinas Fire Department sent that letter that was attached in your package to the EMS agency, notifying us of it, that they wanted to change a change in the response, and they would not be responding to the Omega. And I'm not looking at the letter in front, it's not in front of me. So to certain calls, the lower level calls. We had a meeting with county communications because there's some logistical issues with the request. I don't see Chief Klinick online in the meeting. I do see Captain Alexander, and I don't know if he's ready to discuss the item. So if Salinas Fire, this was placed on the agenda at their request. So if they're not ready to discuss the item, or if we need to wait for Chief Klinick to join the meeting, then we can postpone table this item until the March meeting. I'd like to hear from Captain Alexander.
Yeah, our intent with this is to minimize the calls where we arrive on scene to pre-designated either transport, like inter-facility transports, where when we run our numbers, we consistently find ourselves overwhelmed where we have a unit, say at one of these nursing homes, and for a low acuity call, one where the staff members, even in our CAD, states that fire was not requested. However, we are on scene there, and there are multiple medical calls, either down the street or in the city. And so what we're trying to do is alleviate a little bit of that, stress on our system. So that's the intent. And from what it sounds like, Teresa, the dispatch at this time isn't able to fully be able to implement something like that. However, I mean, I think that just calls for, more communication, and the absolute implementation will probably be delayed. But we did want to know that's kind of our intent, is to try to triage to the best of our abilities. And we think that that might be a step in the right direction. And these are only calls, again, where AMR will be, a priority 3 status, so they're going code 2 to these calls. And yeah, does anybody have any specific questions?
It does appear that Mike Esslinger has questions, so go ahead, Mike.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I apologize. I actually think, Ryan, that you hit on what I was going to ask, and also just maybe, with Sandra Flores also being in the room, is, and I admit, I'm no expert in the communication elements and all the logistics that comes along with it, but, inherently I could see, the delay that, one would encounter, that, when they're going through the process of the call taking, and then, by the time it gets to our dispatchers and they're actually, doing the vetting and going through kind of the triage, so to speak, determining what the call priority is, I could see where that delay would be complicated. And then when they're juggling multiple calls, I could also see the delay in trying to get that information back to Firecom and then communicating that back to you. So my only comment, more than a question, is just making sure that, we really kind of work through the call pathway and understanding exactly, is that going to hurt us or help us in that whole process. But I will say that, overall, I mean, I completely applaud, us, trying to take advantage of using the MPDS standards and, preserving our resources to the best we can. So thank you.
Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying.
If I may, just
Teresa, go ahead. Yeah.
The committee members who are not familiar with this. So in the conversation that we have with communications, they explain that this is a change that has to be made system-wide. It is not a change that can be piecemealed and only for the city of Salinas, and even try to come up with some form of workaround. That is kind of what Michael Esslinger was alluding to. It would be complicated. I think that if I can turn it over to Kimberly, I think that she can provide an overview of how the call works and why right now it would be challenging to try to achieve what the City of Salinas Fire Department is trying to achieve, even though, just as Michael said, we like the idea that they are looking at their calls and a better use of the system, and they're using MPDS to inform the way that we respond to calls. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly so she can provide that overview. And then I see that Sandra also is.
Yeah, Teresa, before we turn it over to Kimberly, let Sandra, why don't you make your comments first? You had your hands up first, and then Kim, we'll turn it over to you. So Sandra, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask like a follow-up question. I know that Mike made a good point on the delay. There is a slight delay once we get that call transferred over to us, Ryan, to get that determinant decided if it's going to be an alpha or an omega call. But I did want to follow it up. You mentioned that inter-facility, that con home, that we're going to get that alpha or omega response. But we also get alpha and omega responses for somebody at home with abdominal pain. We're getting those responses for across the board for any type of call. So I just want to put that on your radar as well, because I noticed that you mentioned just that facility. So for not responding, but I totally commend you for going with the priority dispatch response in doing that priority 3 call, having that joint response with us at a code 2 response. So I just wanted to put that on your radar, and I'll go ahead and give it over to Kim.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kim. Thank you.
Okay, so just kind of, I'm just gonna kind of go through the anatomy really quickly of what happens. So initially, when the call comes in through county communications, county call taker determines if it's a police, fire, or medical call. If it's a medical call, it's then shifted over to the EMS or medical dispatchers for call prioritization. And there is a gap of time because that interrogation takes time. And so Sandra already pointed that out, and so did Mike, about that there's a period of time that all these calls start out as a priority 2 call, almost all. There's exceptions, but most medical calls start out as a priority 2 code 3 response. And then they're either downgraded to a priority 3 code 2, depending on the determinant code, or they're upgraded to a priority 1 code 3, meaning they cannot be diverted to another call because they're the highest priority. So it could be 2 to 3 minutes before a determinant code is given to that call. And not only that this information doesn't flow directly into the fire side of the CAD. So that would be information that either the fire dispatcher would have to try and extract from the EMS call, or the EMS dispatcher would have to put in the call for the fire dispatcher to see, then to notify the fire department, Salinas Fire Department, that it was an Omega or an Alpha or an Omega call. And it won't happen instantaneously when that call comes down. So there will be at least 2 or 3 minutes, could be more dependent on how long the interrogation takes, that the call will be a priority 2 code 3 call. I don't know if anyone has any questions, or hopefully that made sense.
Any questions for Kimberly? Seeing none, is there any action that needs to be taken by us as a board today, or no, just its attachment?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, so I see, are there any questions regarding the letter itself? All right, seeing none, we're gonna move on to AB 361 and remote meetings. Blake?
All right, pursuant to AB 361, we will take action and see anyone who would is willing to make a motion that the guidelines that are set up by AB 361 and that the COVID pandemic is still in effect and the state of emergency is declared by Governor Newsom, and that we have the option to meet remotely up until Governor Newsom's end of the state of emergency, which will be February 28th, 2023. I'll take a motion or is there a motion to continue meeting remotely for our ops committees?
Blake, I'll make the motion that we continue to meet remotely until February 2028 under AB 361.
Okay. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We'll do a roll call. So Jeff Warner.
Aye.
Tina Nieto.
Aye.
Cassandra Caldera.
Aye.
Will Hiller.
Aye.
And Ryan Alexander.
Aye.
Okay. And should be noted that for the next special meeting date, the EMS agency recommends that February 8th, 2023 at 9:30 p.m. will be our next operations subcommittee AB 361 special meeting.
Great. All right. Now moving on to any announcements for the group or for the good of the order.
Chief Nianto, this is Justin Reyes from Monterey County Regional. I had a question for the group.
Go ahead, Chief.
With the retirement of Dave Jednick and now there not being a member representing fire-based ambulance, how do I go about seeking to fill that position with myself?
Teresa?
So,
Go ahead, Blake.
okay, so as per Operations Subcommittee and looking at our policies, an appointment process appointed by the EMS Director in consultation with EMCC.
Okay,
Is there a nomination to the director from fire chiefs?
Appointment process, that's all I see for a appointment process.
Normally,
Go ahead, Teresa.
normally for any fire representative on our committees are usually nominated by the Fire Chiefs Association. We get the nomination. So once a position becomes vacant, we normally notify the Fire Chiefs Association of the vacancy, and at their earliest possible meeting, they make a nomination.
okay, understood. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any other questions or comments for the good of the order? All right, seeing none, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, March 8th at 1 p.m. and location and Zoom information to follow. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.